Hello and welcome to the Horror of Babylon. Hold on, I don't remember how I do this. Welcome to the Horror of
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
I was just reading a scary book.
Oh my god, this is terrible. When did they get to killing the children?
This is literature? A 2-year-old could have written this.
We will be requiring a bedtime story.
Oh, I don't like this book. This is going on forever.
Oh, I just wanted to see kids fight to the death is all.
Look at me! I'm enjoying reading!
Welcome to episode 150 of the Horror of Babylon, where we're going to discuss The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers by j.r.r. Tolkien. I'm Ryan, and with me as always is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Please keep that all in. Hi, Daniel.
Okay, sure. And Hef's here too.
How y'all doing? Good to be back.
Just quick channel update. We have been on hiatus for a bit because of my son's. My son has a pretty outrageous healthcare concern at the moment, and it's still ongoing, but we're kind of in a stable spot. So, I don't know if we're going to be once a month, but we'll be here. It might be a little here and there, and
It'll be when we can.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll do these books, we'll do our plans, and we'll make it as best we can. Also, last episode we started a giveaway for a Child's Play secret lair that was given to us by Four Horsemen, and to enter that, all you had to do was interact with this video on YouTube or any of our social media posts. And then in the past month, I've made like almost 0 social media posts, so we're going to extend that another month.
Yeah.
And thank you to Four Horsemen for giving us that Chucky secret lair. All you have to do is comment on anything in the next month and you'll get entered to win that. So thank you. And also thank you to the continued support from our patrons, which I just checked, and yes, they're still with us. Thank you to Logan, the Full Metal patron, and Sierra, the Keyblade patron. And thank you especially to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And you can, if you make it in the store, make sure to say hello to Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas, who is like a super nice guy, but is also a total dick.
Not true.
Not true.
I in fact went and saw Ron this week actually. I've been in Morgantown a couple times this week, and stopped by Four Horsemen to drop off some more expensive cardboard. And Ron was behind the counter, which is now just a wall with a hole in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
which I had to be directed to.
Yep.
And
he was. I like it.
Yeah, he was back there, sorting through cards and doing stuff. And I went, "Hey, Ron, how you doing?" And he's just like, "Oh, staying busy. Things are good. Things are good." And I said, "Yeah. Do you know who I am?" And he looked at me and went, "No."
That's really funny.
And I told him, I was with Ryan here probably a couple years ago now. I was like, we did that awful MTG stream where people were upset by the end of it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I do remember that."
Very small Four Horsemen story. I'm sitting at work in the back. It must be like 2-something a.m. And Ben looks over at me and goes, "Daniel, why didn't you tell me you've been on YouTube playing Magic?" He somehow just found the one match at Four Horsemen I played on camera.
Did I comment on that?
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys thought I cheated in the match.
I did?
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all.
And Ben looks at me and goes, "Daniel, you clearly drew the card on camera."
Did you cheat?
No.
Oh, it was just an accident, or?
No, you guys... it was had to do with a blood gas trigger, and you guys thought I took it out of my graveyard, but I drew one.
Oh, okay.
Right, there was one in my graveyard, but I drew another one. And Ben goes, Daniel, you clearly drew the card on camera.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. It was funny at the time, and it was funny that Ben found it.
I will try to find that video and put it in the show notes.
Yeah. And Ben commented on it.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't have admin access to that YouTube, but I should be able to find it.
But I thought it was pretty funny. It just brought back memories. So
That's hilarious.
I think it was Sean that I beat. I think he was playing Tron.
And
I was playing a homebrew, which made me feel better.
Just be aggressive and just
Yeah.
what do you? That's my favorite thing. Like, how do you beat Tron? That's how you just kill him.
Yeah. It was before I started net decking. Before I liked to win as much as I do now.
Ah, yes.
Oh, that was fast.
Hey,
There it is.
It's Mark Rochella.
Okay, so it was Mark.
Yeah.
Comments. Show me the comments.
Okay, so yes, I found the video, and I will put that in the.
Who are you, my ex-wife?
I will put it in the show notes for anybody who cares. Okay then. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, all right. Where are we? All right, trigger warning. No, Hobbits.
Short people freak me out. I say it as I recently found out I'm actually 5'9" and not 5'10".
Species interbreeding. Walking in a forest and living trees.
I like species interbreeding though.
People who watch the films and weren't prepared to see how much of this book is in the third film.
Yeah.
I also watched the movie in preparation for this.
Okay, cool.
Just kind of, I wanted to get
we can do a little compare and contrast.
We'll get into it as we go.
Yeah, we can talk about the movie too.
It's mostly comment on vibes.
Yeah. And this, so we all kind of collectively decided to do the Lord of the Rings, and we each used one of our picks for it. I assigned Fellowship to myself for reasons I said in the last episode. I'm assigning The Two Towers to Daniel. Daniel, why did you choose The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers?
Because I was a fan of the movie, because I am a sucker for siege movies.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, like the Alamo, stuff like that. I love Last Stand. It's my stupid martyr complex.
The Mapala.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so our history with The Two Towers, this is both of yours first time reading the book. So I guess what's your history with the movie?
I've watched The Two Towers several times. Like, as far as the film, it's probably the Return of the King is one I've watched the least amount of times, I would say.
I don't know how you haven't seen the three movies the exact same number of times. I'm kidding.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I'm usually like that. That's how it goes. Usually, is you start one and it's just like, well, I'm here. You may as well do the rest of them. Yeah. But those ones have the caveat of being notoriously long, and it takes the entire day to watch all three of them.
They are very long.
So yeah, but The Two Towers, I think when I was younger, is the one I enjoyed the most, because I think it just had the most happening in the movie. Like it felt like the least, I guess, sloggy. As I've gotten older, I think I appreciate Fellowship much more than the other two films, just because I like the bonding of the characters and the gathering of the Fellowship. Like, I just like that. I think that just is more wholesome as I'm older. That's about all I got.
Daniel?
It's the one I've watched the most just because I like siege movies. If I was going to watch a Lord of the Rings movie, like after I saw all of them, I just go, I want to watch The Two Towers.
I will 100% say that if you're talking about like a scene from the three movies, like I have been known to at least once or twice turn on The Two Towers, and I'm just like, oh man, but Helm's Deep's really good. Just like fast forward to it.
Yeah. Impossible odds, all that kind of nonsense. It gets me going.
Toss me.
Don't tell the elf.
Don't tell the elf.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Let's jump into background. The Two Towers is the second volume of j.r.r. Tolkien's epic novel, The Lord of the Rings. It contains Book 3 and Book 4 of The Lord of the Rings. It was first published November 11th, 1954. That's a good day. God, I should do notes. Book 3 is called The Treason of Isengard, and Book 4 is called The Ring Goes East. And that's background on the Two Towers. Normally I do very detailed outlines with lots and lots of notes. I think our fellowship outline was like 6 or 7 pages long. I'm not concerned, like, once we get into characters and structure, the conversation's going to flow pretty smooth, but like these sections where I'm just rattling off stuff at you might be a little more sparse than normal.
Yeah.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
So let's go ahead and jump into structure and themes. And the first thing I want to ask, so unlike the movie, which intertwines the two stories, one story being the War in Rohan, and the other story being essentially the story of Frodo, Sam, and Smeagol and their unification as a party and their journey. The movie like intertwines those two, and you jump back and forth between them. The book gives you Book 3, which is essentially the story of Aragorn, and you get some of Merry and Pippin, but essentially it's just all the Rohan stuff. And then Book 4, which is all of Frodo and Sam and Gollum. Mm-hmm. So what did you guys think about the structure of that?
I think it works better in a book the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But for a movie, I can't imagine, or a TV show, doing like all of one story,
mm-hmm.
and then doing an entire part of another story. That's mostly like just a timeline and a pacing thing, because whenever you're telling a story in like a visual medium, a lot of times you want to see what people are doing around the same time. If you have to like keep noting this takes place on this day or this far back, a lot of times that can be kind of distracting. But in book form, that's way easier to get on board with. It's almost like too many books.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. It's definitely more compact, like you're less scatterbrained when you read it, I think. If there's one thing I've in this podcast that I've gotten a little bit better about is, I mean, we've read so many Stephen King books that, we jump through between characters and times and things like that constantly in a lot of his books. So for a book like this, because it's so dense, it's a lot nicer to have all of that kind of compacted into 2 separate but whole stories, rather than being jumped around between the various characters and various things. And Tolkien has so many characters in his book that I think it could definitely be challenging to read if he tried to do all of that like as a chronological, like as it's happening, versus here's one part, here's another.
Which is how Game of Thrones is written.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin don't care.
Yeah.
He gives no fucks.
He also tells it from like 20 different characters' perspectives.
Oh my.
Careful, that's how we got dislikes.
It's interaction. Bring on the dislikes.
I love Game of Thrones. I'm just saying that is done in the exact opposite way.
Does this bottle opener look like a bird?
Kinda, yeah.
Woodpecker.
Are you sure that's not alcoholic beer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have found, so I've been experimenting a lot with non-alcoholic beer, and I found that sometimes you can get like the ghost of the effect of alcohol, just by drinking it. And,
placebo.
Yeah, like I mean, just like especially when I'm like streaming or playing a game and I'm just drinking it, and I have the taste and I have the smell, and it just kind of lightens me up.
It's an ambiance.
Yeah, and also like it technically does have alcohol in it. But like the one that I buy regularly, to get the same amount of alcohol as you would get in one beer, you have to drink 24 non-alcoholic beers. Like you have to show an ID to buy non-alcoholic beer.
Huh.
Okay, cool. What are the 2 towers and what are their significance?
you're better at this. I will fuck this up.
I don't remember the towers' names.
What are they?
They're two big towers. It's a fortress. I'm not good at the lore.
Oh.
It's just last time we watched the Two Towers movie, Emma was like, she just somewhere through it, she dawned, it's called the Two Towers because Saruman has a tower and Sauron has a tower. I'm like, yeah.
Each of them have a tower.
I thought like the Two Towers was Isengard for the longest time. Like I thought it was just there, and then
Isengard is the place, right? It's like the fortress.
Yeah,
the tower is Orthanc,
right?
Which those types of things are like not said in the movies. He like Peter Jackson, I think probably rightfully so, simplifies things. Everything in Tolkien has at least two names, and.
At least.
I have noticed there's a lot of naming.
I was trying to keep a list of notes of everything that they call Gandalf. And I was like, there's
a lot of those. Yeah, Gandalf's good.
Yeah,
I like Mithrandir.
Mithrandir does roll off the tongue.
I also like Olorin because it sounds like Alurin, which was one of my favorite Magic cards.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that card.
That was his original name, Olorin.
Huh.
Okay.
So also, the other thing I wanted to point out about the Two Towers, hold on, let me bring up a map.
They're tall.
They are very tall.
Tall.
Not Middle East. Shit. Map of the Middle East.
No one cares about that.
How red will your face be if there's just two towers in the Middle East?
I would assume there's more than two towers. What?
No.
You have an age restriction on a website. What is this?
I just want the... Okay, so
it's a Little Dipper.
Yeah, it is. So the way like the geography works, the two like main kingdoms of men that are involved in the story of the Lord of the Rings are boxed in by the Two Towers. So, the Isengard is here, and the Tower of Orthanc is here at the Gap of Rohan, which is the easiest way to pass across the Misty Mountains. And then, of course, the other one is here, the Tower of Barad-dûr in Mordor. And then Rohan is here, and Gondor is here. So, like, Saruman and Sauron have the two kingdoms of men in, like, this pincer grip. And it's very, like, it's not obvious as you're reading it, because... I think he does a good job like describing all the geographic places like individually, but it can be hard to imagine where these things are all in relation to each other, which I think is probably why he includes maps in his books.
Yeah.
But I really like the sense of like being boxed in that the placement of the Two Towers creates.
Was Tolkien the fantasy author to start that? Because a lot of them include
Probably. I don't...
Let's find out.
Was the first fantasy author to include maps.
What an age we live in.
Thomas More is credited with being the first fantasy author to include a map in his work in 1516 with his book Utopia, where he included a map of the island.
Wow. That is way sooner than I thought.
Reddit tried really hard to prove otherwise, though. I saw that.
Yeah. I mean, this one does say it's not the only... Well, hold on. Let me just look at this real quick. Never mind. Yeah. No, okay. So, it was not Tolkien. But he's best at it. I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair. All right. Okay. All right. So we finally saw our first like legit army versus army battle. There are like battles in the Fellowship like among people, but this is our first like an army versus an army. So having seen the movies and now reading the books, what were your thoughts on Tolkien's what were your thoughts on Helm's Deep and just how Tolkien portrays war in general?
He still does not care to include super detailed battles.
Mm-hmm.
I get why. It's just if you're coming right up, I didn't come off I did the movie afterwards, but if you saw the movies first and then you go into the books, you might be expecting and then an arrow pierced the sixth orc's eye or whatever. And it's just not really told like that.
No. So there are, I think that the movies are full of like feats.
Yeah.
Like specifically Legolas, but also Aragorn and Gimli doing things.
I can shoot 26 arrows in 10 seconds, you know, that kind of stuff.
But the book is really more of just like a general description of what happened. You can tell he's like almost like, I have to get through this part.
Yeah. And then the exposition parts where the characters tell other characters what happened.
Yeah.
Which is a lot just of how Lord of the Rings story is told. It's a very exposition-heavy novel.
Do you feel like the Two Towers had less than the Fellowship?
Yeah, a lot less than the Fellowship. But just in general. More than I'm used to.
Well, I think it's just, this book continues the impression, I think, that obviously we've talked about how, you know, Tolkien was very anti-war as far as things. The big separation for me was, I think I said this in the last episode, is the feel of the books versus the films are just so different. And like the same events are happening, it's got the same like train of thought, but the movies just do such a deal where they're glorifying war in a sense, and the books are just such the opposite.
His description of war is very clinical. It's this happened and this happened and this happened. I got, like, as I was rereading it and I was having those thoughts in my head, there's a little bit of that. Like, you still get the ride out with me moment, which is very much, it's not glorifying war, but it is like a dramatic thing that's happening within a battle that you could kind of interpret that way. Although in the book, Theoden asks Aragorn to ride out with him, as opposed to the movie where it's the reverse.
Right, yeah. I don't know, there's just many, like I said, the big thing I think different-wise is just the feel of everything. Like, there's just, I understand why people, because like after reading the books especially now, I understand like why people are fans of usually one or the other, versus I think I meet less people who really truthfully enjoy both. Like, I've talked to several people about this because, you know, now that we've done this for long enough, I know people that, you know, occasionally listen to the podcast, or at least know I have it, and occasionally a book will come up that we're talking about, and I can kind of gauge people who have read it. And Lord of the Rings is one where it really, most of the time, is one or the other. It's, they either really enjoy the books and don't care for the movies at all, and I think it's the tone. Like, they're just tonally different from one another, at least from what I've gathered from other people and then even my own personal readings.
And on the tone, like, the thing that I kept noticing when I'm like rewatching these movies and comparing them to the books is the movies have this like air of antagonism, and especially between characters. Like,
we'll get to that.
When characters are talking to each other, they're like pissy in the movies, or they're like, it seems like they're ready to fight each other, where you might have a similar or even the same line of dialogue, but they move on from it super quick. They're like, by the way, you're a dick, now let's go eat breakfast. And it's almost kind of charming. Like, it's hard for me to think of like a super, I think the biggest examples are the fucking what are they called, the tree people, ants?
Ents.
Yeah, the Ents. Like, movies, super kind of antagonistic towards the little hobbits, and in this they're like, oh, you guys are kind of chill. I guess we'll help you out.
I'll add you to the songs.
Yeah, it like happens almost instantly. I was like, because they came up, I was like, oh, he's gonna tell these hobbits to go eat shit, and then he doesn't tell them to go eat shit.
I'm going to bring this up. I think there's a better example, and I'll bring this up in characters.
Okay.
It's also my sort of my Koontz, but sort of not. We'll get there. Okay, so tone and structure and battle and language. Do you guys have anything else, like structure theme-wise, that you wanted to bring up?
He likes ending these on kind of cliffhangers.
Yeah, I adore the ending of this book.
Yeah. I also adore the beginning of this book.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it's really good.
And take that, Peter Jackson.
No, they...
I also kind of adore how it's handled because, well, I guess we'll do it when we get to characters.
That's the first we're talking about that character first.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ending. It almost makes me wish that I hadn't seen the movies, so that this book is a huge cliffhanger, but it's amazing that it still feels like a cliffhanger when we 100% know what happens.
Yeah.
But it's still, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it still puts me on the edge of my seat. Like, oh my God, oh wait, I know what's happening.
I think I was doing leg raises at the gym, and I'm because I listen to the books while I do my warm-ups. And I believe I dropped down and went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" When I realized that's how the book ended.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't imagine if I was like, when was this book published again?
1954.
I couldn't imagine if I was in 1954 and I'd be pissed.
Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite book endings of all time.
Yeah.
The whole last two chapters. The last chapters is called The Choices of Samwise Gamgee, and I think it's just maybe his best moments as a character.
I'll show you the power of the servant class.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go on, because I think the meat of this conversation is going to be in the characters.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
We're going to do book 3 characters and then book 4 characters. So we're going to first start off, Hef. You now have my permission to talk to us about the death of Bor.
I mean, it picks up right where the other one left off. He's just there, kind of dying. So that being said, as far as you're talking about how it starts out, being the first, because I forgot that it switched between the books on that, because again I read these so back to back that I didn't even realize that it happened. And it's kind of funny because thinking back on it, because I thought it was one book, I had no problem with it, and then looking back on it, I'm like, well, that's stupid. And I didn't like it at first, but I totally see why that comes in. And Boromir chokes me up every time. He lived for the boys, and that's how he went. I mean, he went out, fighting the good fight, and I don't know, Boromir is an undisputed top tier character for me. I really enjoyed him, and it made me kind of mad when I thought about it, and I'm like, wait, so you're telling me I got him for 5 minutes in this book? It's just enough to make me mad, but I understand
0.
Why. It is better than 0. That is strictly 5 minutes more than I got in the 2 Towers.
My favorite part was they just kind of find him dead.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait, and then the hobbits later tell you a little bit about what he did, but it's not that, because the movie is this super over the top, I'm fighting 10 or 20 orcs at once, and he's taking arrows and pulling them out, but the book is just yeah, we found his body, and then when you find the hobbits, yeah, he kind of held them off for a minute, and then he died. I like the little thing at the whenever they send him off, Tolkien goes on a little bit of an explanation, being and some say he made it all the way to Gondor. Some say he did, others do not. It's so cryptic, but it's and me being slightly a cynic here, I'm just there's just rocks at the bottom, right? There's I think it's not the best part of all that, but I did find it really fun. Again, in the movies, you see him taking on all these orcs, and in the book, the only indication of how good of a job he did was they show up and they're like, "Man, these are a lot of dead orcs." there's 30 of these guys.
Maybe Merry and Pippin killed some of those.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Yeah, I just think that's funny.
No,
because that's how Lord of the Rings tells the story. It's either exposition or they find something and they go, "Oh, this must have happened because of all the bodies here." So Because it's not there to glorify this one man fighting like 50 dudes at once. It's there to glorify why the man took on 50 dudes at once.
Yeah.
So.
Redemption.
Yeah.
So let's talk about redemption. Is Boromir redeemed?
I mean, in my heart, he'll always be redeemed. I might fight somebody who says something bad about Boromir. I don't know, he's like at least to me, like there's, in a fantastic book, characters that show weakness and then grow from that weakness are always going to have a soft spot. Like, I'm always going to have a soft spot for that. Like, I will never be told otherwise.
That's the redemption equals death trope for me. So I kind of expect it, especially in fantasy stories. Like, if you want to redeem yourself, you're going to die in the story. That's just kind of how those and I'm sure Tolkien's an early example, at least in like modern literature. But that's just kind of how a lot of these stories work. You want to redeem yourself for the bad or the stupid thing, you're going to have to die.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree. So I lied. We're gonna mostly do book 3, then book 4 characters, except I think it makes the most sense to talk about Boromir and then talk about Faramir. Then we'll do all the rest of the book 3 characters.
How does it feel to be the silver medal?
Well, what do you guys generally think of Faramir?
He's the silver medal with a chip on his shoulder because it's not the gold medal.
Okay.
He seemed less. See, I think he seemed less chipped about it, I guess.
Especially in the book.
Yeah, like
I don't think he has a chip on his shoulder. I think that he and his brother genuinely loved each other, and there was zero rivalry between them. And I think it's all just a construct from their dad.
That's where the chip comes from. He didn't blame his brother for it, but he
about his dad. Yeah.
But in the book, he's also way less antagonistic about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like in the movies, he's like, "Oh, my fucking dad," and in the book, he's just like, "Man, I just want my dad to like me." I could have gotten a ring.
So the big moment for Faramir in this book is that he realizes that he has Frodo and the ring there within his grasp, and he has essentially zero temptation. And in the movie, the big difference in the movie, and what a lot of people who are book fans don't like about the movie, is they corrupt his character a little bit in the movie, and there's this long period of temptation where he's like, no, I'm taking the ring back to my dad, I'm taking it back, and then he eventually decides to let Frodo and Sam go.
Yeah, this is what I was talking, like with the antagonism, it's just like, it's not in the books. It's mostly just like, you got your thing to do, buddy.
Yeah. Here he's just like this genuine, like, Steve Rogers-esque, like, mini Aragorn, and he's like, the blood of Numenor runs in me, and I am amazing and perfect, and I have zero temptation for your elvish weapon.
I pictured Flanders.
Very Flanders. I see Flanders too.
Well, why don't you just go on there and drop that ring in the lava?
Just drop it in, nothing at all.
Better capture Gollum though.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of, like, Faramir in comparison to Boromir?
If you want the character with, like, the struggle, you go Boromir. If you don't, then you go Faramir.
Yeah, Faramir seems like less. Like you said, like he's less like vindictive, I guess, about it. Like there's still, I'm sure, some of it, but that's kind of the thing with, like, a lot of the characters in this book is it's kind of like he said, where the antagonism that you see in the films really just isn't there in the novels, and Faramir might be the best example of that, just because and you brought up the tempting of the ring, as that's almost a perfect example of, like, this is a good man being a good man. Whereas Aragorn, we kind of we anticipate that that's how he is is, he's going to resist the temptation because he's fucking Aragorn. That's, he's the king of Gondor, the righteous king of Gondor.
He's the true heir.
Right. So, but with Faramir, like, this is kind of a character that, we're only starting to get exposed to a little bit. And the fact that he can resist that temptation like Aragorn is just such a stark difference from the Jackson interpretation, where he's kind of filled with, a lot of bad feels, if you will, of what his brother was like, the golden boy, where he wasn't. And in this book, we don't see that.
Yeah, because it didn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, and it also kind of goes back to Tolkien's theme of like blood and legacy, and because Faramir is quote unquote a better man because the blood of Numenor, i.e. the blood of the men who in the first age chose to fight with the elves against Morgoth and were rewarded in the second age with the island of Numenor, i.e. like the chosen men, their blood runs true in Faramir, and that's why he's a superior person. And Tolkien says even though Boromir had the same blood, the blood that Faramir did, the blood of Numenor did not run true in him.
Mm-hmm.
He is
How's it feel to be born great?
He is of a lesser stock, as they would say.
Faramir's cock is huge.
Faramir's cock is so big. Oh, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the Return of the King episode.
Yeah,
that comes up.
I bet it does.
Again and again. All right. So let's go to our three hunters: Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. And their pursuit of Merry and Pippin, the discovery of the old man in the woods, and their eventual war with the Rohirrim.
Well, first off, they need to save enough for the rest of us. First off.
I can almost guarantee you that all three of them are virgins.
Yeah.
I mean, if all of my women were bearded, maybe me too.
Yeah.
There's also just like, I forget, like this, I think it's like only like 25% of dwarves are female. So there's just
that's a lot of competition.
Yeah, there's just some dwarfs just, I'm not gonna even try. Many of them are just lifelong bachelors, and he says in one book that some dwarven women choose not to get married and have children, so some of them take themselves out of the race anyway. So
you're talking about the silver medal. This is the bronze medal. Aragorn amused me quite a few times just because reading, I think what got me was like the chain of the hunt between after they dump Boromir over the waterfall to where they get to Rohan. Like I loved that whole thing. Mm-hmm. That was just such a fun little stint because
let's run for 3 days.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Fuck that.
You guys are fucking insane. Aragorn's like ability, like as a tracker, is so much more amusing to like read about because like you're just following along with him, and the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking like, this motherfucker is fantastic. Like,
he's good at everything.
Like he's good at everything.
He's like Tolkien.
Like he just like lays his ear to the ground and he's like, I don't hear any hoofbeats. They must be at least 50 miles away. Fuck you, 50 miles away.
He does that in the movie too.
I know, but like it's just something. There's something about having it described to you that just makes it like way more insulting.
Somebody farted 200 yards away.
But I loved that, and Aragorn himself is just always like he's just the perfect dude. So like I don't really have a lot to say on like character for him because like he's just kind of the dude you expect to always do not only what's right but perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Superman
of
Lord of the Rings.
And that's just kind of what he does. Legolas is just kind of like I don't know. Legolas had his moments, but like I feel like wasn't super
I mean, if you're because I find Gimli funny, and I find Aragorn cool, and then Legolas is the third one for me.
Yeah, I will say and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't exactly remember the chain of events, but there is a point in their traveling where they meet the elf that spoke with Galadriel, I think, and like gave them a message of some sort or something like that. But I remember like I have a message for Aragorn, I have a message for Legolas, and then Gimli's over there just being like, but nothing for me. What was it? It was
Gandalf.
Was it Gandalf?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And he's just like kind of being like simping a bit because he's just like, so I didn't get anything either. And then like I feel like Gandalf's sitting there being like, oh no, I've made him sad. This. Like, he's like, oh, my lady is still here.
The Galadriel simping continues and will continue into the Return of the King. There will be more.
It filled me with such joy.
Yeah, he just pulls out that hair and sniffs it every once in a while.
I think he intertwines it in his beard. So it's just always
It's
there.
because there's only like 25% females of his race. He has to find it somewhere.
Yeah, they all have beards.
Gimli was the original skin graft in the Middle Earth. Just like, shove it in there.
Producers of Rings of Power, I will stop all criticism of you if you just give your dwarven women beards. And they can. I don't care what race they are. You can have black dwarves and Asian dwarves, and
They just better have beards.
they just have to have beards. That's all I care about.
If they're Asian, we might call them Mongolian.
Oh, Adam Driver.
I was gonna just put a bleep over it, but it's fine.
That's your fault. I have a whole new joke now.
It speaks the truth. I do. So I think that this book is where like the comedy starts to shine in a little bit, and I do think it mostly comes from Gimli.
Yeah, because he's funny.
Yeah, he's super funny.
He's just a funny little guy.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it comes with his interactions with Legolas, and Legolas is like the straight man in that. Were you guys surprised that their counting competition was in the book?
Yeah,
I actually was. Yeah,
I was expecting it to not be. I was like, that happened.
Yeah, well, that seemed very Hollywood to me to do that. Yeah,
it seemed very Hollywood, very Peter Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
I know. I was excited when they started. I'm like, no shit, this is a thing. This is great. Because that's one of my favorite. Like, it is one of my favorite things in the movie when they do that. And I thought for sure when I was reading this book, I'm like, that's going to be something that's surely not in there. But no, it's great.
I like it too. Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about Merry and Pippin and the Ents.
I believe. I don't know. For some reason, every time they would have any sort of thing when they were heading towards Isengard, I just kept hearing Tupac in my head the whole time. It was like, you got
Tupac?
Or not Tupac, I'm sorry, I'm bad at references. Wu-Tang Clan.
I still don't understand.
Merry and Pippin ain't nothing to fuck with.
Something they said.
Oh.
It is something
they
said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Merry and Pippin ain't nothing to fuck with. Like, that's what I would
I'm
hear
honestly
as I was
surprised you didn't know.
No, I had no idea. Hold on. Is that like a song? Or is...
I believe it. I mean, yes.
Okay,
you want to call it a song?
I mean...
I think it's just Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
I'm not familiar with the Wu-Tang Clan. The most I know about them is for one of my neighbors, every election year, he puts out a sign that says presidents are temporary, Wu-Tang is forever.
If it makes you feel even remotely justified in not understanding that reference, I guarantee you the next subscriber we lose is specifically because I said Tupac instead of the Wu-Tang Clan. They will be super mad about that. Fun fact, I enjoy Insane Clown Posse. And there goes the other subscriber.
I also enjoy the Insane Clown Posse.
And every time you guys say that, I forget it on purpose. Okay, yeah, I see. Wu-Tang ain't nothing to fuck with. I'll listen to that later.
Now just think of Merry and Pippin going in with the Ents, and it's great.
Oh yeah, we were talking about Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
I love that Treebeard, like it wasn't his first question, but it was one of his first questions. He's like, hey, have you guys seen any Triosi around? I could really go for some Triosi. It's been like 10,000 years.
It's real lonely in the wood.
It might rain later, but I would really prefer if it rained on some Triosi. I just thought it was funny that he brings it up and he's like stuck on it for like a hot minute.
It's also, if I remember correctly, I think the last thing that Mary says to Treebeard is, if we see any Triosi, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
When they're leaving Isengard.
Like Gimli thought he had it bad.
Yeah.
Most of the characters in this book are subtly horny.
There is, so like the fate of the Entwives is one of like the big Tolkien mysteries. But like all the Tolkien academics, based on the writings that he has in Unfinished Tales and Silmarillion, the kind of the accepted but not proven thought on the Entwives is that Sauron set them all on fire and killed them all in the Second Age.
He burned up the Triosi.
Yeah. Because they went, the Entwives left Fangorn to seed a new forest just outside of Mordor, and then they were never seen again. So
he's all like, this will be funny.
Yeah. And that's also,
I was resisting the urge to make a burning bra joke.
We're expecting to see that happen in Rings of Power Season 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's going to go over super well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Poor Triosi. You ruined it.
We ruined it. I don't think
I've been holding on to that joke for a month.
He finally Treebeard finally sees some Triosi and he's like, don't be hasty.
Take it slow.
I mean, he gave us the clue. He didn't even hardly say anything either, because like the entire time he's in that forest, what are we doing other than being a tree? Well, I'm just going to stay wet
all the time.
So
sit in the basin with me.
Everything in Entish takes a long time to say, so I wonder what their pickup lines are like and how long they take.
Hold on, I'm going to send her a text 5,000 years later. And send.
Ulfira, why don't we make like trees and leaf? Also, fun fact, I'm really glad that I was listening to it on 1.5 speed, because Andy Serkis reading Treebeard,
yeah.
Even at 1.5 speed, I'm sitting there being like, did it go back down on me? No, he's just reading that slowly.
Yeah,
right.
no, he reads it real slow.
He's into it, I suppose. I'm listening to the other guy.
And he makes him, it kind of sounds like John Rhys Davies too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis was just like, I'm going to do all the Lord of the Rings characters, but better.
I don't know if you guys saw that the clip that I actually watched, the interview clip.
The Andy Serkis one?
Where he's talking about recording the audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's like, I tried to do Gandalf like Ian McKellen, but not exactly Ian McKellen, like take him up an octave, so it's like reminiscent of the movies, but it's not the same. Because I'm Andy Serkis, and I could just do Ian McKellen.
I mean, even so, like, I feel like his Gandalf was one of the better ones he did.
Yeah, I think I like his Gandalf and his Pippin and his Gimli. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of them are very good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Andy Serkis. I can play a monkey and Gandalf.
Yeah. And
he's the Tolkien of actors. He's too good at everything.
Yes, he is. Okay. So any actual thoughts on like Merry and Pippin, or like the sacking of Isengard?
I mean, I liked the sack of Isengard. I liked the culmination of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like when Gandalf showed up and was like, hey, motherfucker. I'm going to lecture you for like 20 minutes and give you like a chance.
I was going to say, that was interesting. Like, because I didn't pick up that was going to happen.
Oh, and yeah, we can include Saruman right here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Who's a bitch?
That's basically what happened.
Your staff is broken!
He's like, listen here, motherfucker. that whole locking me on top of a tower thing wasn't cool.
But did you notice what's different about the books compared to the movies?
Hiya! Happy Easter!
I mean, a lot.
Saruman does not die there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to in the movie where he dies.
Okay, yeah.
He's basically just left powerless.
I won't say why, but there's a reason for that. And we'll find out in the Return of the King.
Oh, okay. Well, neat. Who was the guy? I can't remember his name. The little servant dude who was whispering in ears.
Grima Wormtongue.
Wormtongue, yeah. Everything about him, what happened to him, was funny too.
I forget the actor's name, but you may also know him from Alien 4 and The Exorcist 3.
He just plays weird dudes.
He does. He really does.
He's like the dude who played Rorschach in the Watchmen movie. He only plays weird guys.
Kind of like Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
When they got to Isengard and he's basically, or Gandalf was just basically being like, fuck you, Sauron kind of thing. Like, I was thinking to myself and remembered our final adventure to the Dark Tower, and I thought to myself, well, at least he's not a pair of eyes on the side of it, I guess.
Saruman is also not like the main villain, but I mean, it's not like we don't see Sauron is not a conventional villain.
No, Saruman is like kind of
a feeling.
I will say Saruman is actually it'll become up again, but Saruman is kind of my Koontz of this book. Well, really, kind of maybe overall, because this is going to be not the one thing, but there are some things I enjoy about the films better. Saruman is one of those. Christopher Lee is just so menacing and does a very good, kind of plotting, kind of evil dude. Which is not to say that it's not the same in the book, but
he doesn't have his rainbow cloak.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. Granted, it does make him 25% less fabulous, but that is kind of my only. I have a hard time finding flaws with these books, so I know it's nitpicky. But Saruman is kind of the one thing that I'm just not.
I'll just tell you that Saruman's story is not over.
Have you guys seen the Christopher Lee interview that he gave about working with Peter Jackson?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so he got in a small argument with Peter Jackson because Peter Jackson was like, "I need you to be more emotive when you get stabbed in the back." And Christopher Lee goes, "Do you know what noise a person makes when they get stabbed in the back?" Peter Jackson goes, "No." Christopher Lee goes, "Well, I do." So I've got this because he used to work in I think it was the Navy or the CIA. He was in special intelligence or some shit
He was a Nazi hunter.
He's kind of I know Christopher Lee's life was kind of wild.
Yeah. And he was friends with the dude who wrote 007.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He was the only person on the production of those movies who had actually met Tolkien.
Yeah. And probably the only one that's actually killed a man. So
I don't know. I bet some of those New Zealand boys they had for moving boxes around and shit.
Okay, that's fair.
I feel like my Saruman point is validated now.
That's what made me think of it, because he is an he plays a great villain. And having probably killed a bunch of people probably helped that.
Master Yoda.
I know what it's like when the light goes out of their eyes. I've got this.
Did you know that he auditioned for Gandalf?
Yeah.
And he was actually upset that he didn't get it, and Peter Jackson kind of was like, "But I want you to be Saruman." He's like, "But I want to be Gandalf."
I just wanted to be this good guy.
He's such a good villain, though.
He is. Yeah. He's so menacing. That's what makes it so good. And he's iconic, really. He owned it. He totally owned it. Even didn't want it. He totally owned it.
All right, so now we're going to talk about one of my favorite characters. But I'm anxious to hear what you guys think. Tell me about Theoden, the King of Rohan. He's the King of Rohan?
Yeah, I don't...
He had a dude whispering in his ear, and then he didn't. He was less impactful to me than the other people, but I guess I was also just focused on, Triosi and Gimli.
Triosi. Is he your favorite character because of other stuff
He's
he
not.
did?
He's not my favorite character.
Well, you say he's like pretty high.
But he's a favorite character. Mostly because of Helm's Deep.
Okay, I mean that's fair.
Yeah. It's just he and Aragorn's roles are so like heavily reversed in the books versus the movies, and he and Gandalf, like, they flip everything, like in the movie, Theoden decides to go to Helm's Deep and Gandalf is mad about it. But in the book, they start going towards Isengard, and then Gandalf eventually steers them to Helm's Deep. Like, these things are reversed. But I really like the ride out with me scene.
Yeah.
And I like,
it's that martyr stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. And I also just like that he's like this old man who's lived his life, and for all, he should be one of the first ones to die, and it should be his son that's leading Rohan during this time. But instead, his son dies, and he's been corrupted, and he's not even cognizant in his head when his son dies. And then Gandalf frees him, and he wakes up to his son dead, his nephew banished, his kingdom run over by orcs, his supposed ally Saruman has betrayed him, and he just has to find a way to pick his people up by his bootstraps and make it work. And I love the image of him, like, at Helm's Deep, like, standing there looking out over the parapets and just thinking, like, is this the end of Rohan? Is this the end of men? Is this old man who's seen too many winters? Am I really going to be the last king of my people? It's very romantic.
Yeah. I mean, you get a deeper dive, I think. What I guess the benefit of a book overall, I think, is you do have these more internal awareness, I guess, than you would in a film. And there's a lot of a romance of these books in this caliber is that, you know, all the in films you would consider them character flaws because maybe they're not explored deep enough. And so few times in books do you have this problem, because that's generally how you get your information, is through the perception of the character that you're with. And it's one of the many benefits of books versus films, is just like you don't have these as many character weaknesses unless they're intentional, because the point of the book is to empathize with the character you're with. And I think Theoden's a very good example of that, because in the movie he's a old king that, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy him in the films. Like, I think the actor who played him was very good. I think
Bernard Hill.
Yeah, like it's all very good, but you do get a much deeper perspective in a book which I'm not going to say isn't unremarkable in any way, but it is one of those things where I guess in a book I kind of expect that.
Yeah.
So to me it was just less. I don't even know really. It was less surprising, I guess.
I don't know if this is still the case, and I don't like the Academy Awards, but I do occasionally like to pull out like Academy Awards trivia. Bernard Hill at one point, and may still be, the only actor who is in the first and second highest two films to have the highest number of Academy Awards. And those are The Return of the King and
the second, like the highest number. Oh, you mean like all at once? Like they got nominated for the most things?
I think won the most. Like,
okay.
Return of the King has the most wins, and this other movie has the second most wins.
Yeah, I know The Return of the King won an absurd amount.
Yeah.
It wasn't Titanic, was it?
It was Titanic.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
he's the captain in Titanic.
Oh, you're right. Oh, okay.
Man, this boat's gonna sink just like my kingdom.
Foreshadowing.
Daniel, do you have any thoughts on Theoden? If not, it's okay.
Yeah, not really.
Okay, that's fine.
I like the martyr stuff, but I like that as like a whole package. So
okay, and then just quickly, I don't think we're gonna have a lot to say on her and her brother. This book, we'll have more to say next book for sure. But I'm not going to do a podcast on The Two Towers without at least mentioning Eowyn and, to a lesser extent, Eomer.
He wasn't Carl Urban, but he was in my heart. I love Carl Urban.
Carl Urban is great. It's a shame that the best movies he was in, he doesn't have like a lot of room to like flex his muscles in. But I'm sure he was just happy to be a part of it.
I adore Carl Urban in whatever he does, regardless of how much screen time he gets. Like I am one of the unpopular people who really, really, really enjoy the
Star Trek,
the Kelvin universe, or is that what it's called? Star Trek films.
I don't meet a lot of people who say they don't like those movies.
Oh, that must be just a assessment I get then. But like him as McCoy is,
he's my favorite.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Bones is my favorite character in the OG series, and he's my favorite character in the Kelvin movies.
Yeah. He's so good. But and as far as Eomer is concerned, I did enjoy. We got more because Eomer, I think, in the movies he doesn't get a whole lot of exposure.
No, he's not even at the Battle of Helm's Deep. Gandalf has to go get him.
Yeah, he has to go get him. Yeah.
But instead, in the books, he goes and gets Erkenbrand, who's like the master of like the western portion of Rohan.
I do like I love the band. I guess the back and forth that they have when they first meet him after they've done their lap around like killing the orcs. Yeah, and they're just like, and he's basically, you've been running for 3 days. Like,
what the fuck? Like, we ride horses.
Like he starts off so antagonistic, and basically by the end, like you just kind of have the image that he's totally just fanboying over these guys he just met.
You're the king of Gondor, and you ran for 3 days, and you're friends with dwarves and elves.
That is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I can run for 3 minutes most days.
This week was my first week back to running, and I wanted to kill myself.
I hate running.
Eowyn suffers from just, I think, the same thing that kind of Arwen would. Like it's just like she's just kind of there.
At least Eowyn has dialogue.
True, that's true. Like again, we could always have more.
The movies beef up her relationship with Aragorn.
Yeah, they do.
Which I think I like. I think it's very sweet in the movies.
Oh yeah, no,
but we'll have a lot more to say on Eowyn in the Return of the King.
Oh, I'm down for that.
Okay, cool. So let's move on to our book 4 characters and our last 3 characters, which are probably our main characters.
I have 4 to talk about.
Okay, cool. So Frodo, Sam, and Gollum.
And the spider!
Oh, yes, of course. I thought you were going to say, and Smeagol.
No, I really like the spider.
Yeah, Shelob.
Yeah, Shelob.
Really cool. Have you seen Shelob in the second Shadow of Mordor game, where they make her a sexy woman?
I haven't played the Shadows of Mordor games.
Oh no, we just
Shelob. What's the second one called?
War of
Shadow of War.
Shadow of War.
Shadow of War. That's what it is. She kind of looks like Liv Tyler a little bit.
Huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
I might need to play these games.
We just found a new place for Daniel to go for a few hours.
I mean, I also am a big fan of Quelaag from Dark Souls, which is just a hot chick.
Oh yeah,
her upper torso. Bottom.
Yeah, she's like just got hair dangling over her. Yeah.
So I'll take a sexy Shelob.
It's hot.
I like the lead up to that too because it's so funny. Because like you literally walk in and you just like it shows her hand and you start to go up on the screen and it's just like oh what are we doing? And then you just see the spider part and you're like, oh, now I see what's happening.
Yeah, I can work with this.
Okay, so just together as a group, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, and also just like their portion of the story. Some general thoughts.
I think overall I found them the most interesting. I just like how they all played off of each other. This was one of the parts of the book where some of that antagonism still kind of shines through. Warranted some of the time. Like, I think, Sam is like correct to be suspicious of this guy. It's not quite as cutthroat as it is in the movies, but it's still there.
Stinker and Slinker.
Because he's even in the book, he literally questions anything Gollum does.
Mm-hmm.
And when Gollum tries to do something nice, he criticizes it.
I struggle a little bit because to me, Sam is the all around nice, genuine dude.
Yeah.
But he is a total dick to Smeagol.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give Smeagol a chance, and I'm a big believer in giving people second chances. But he's also right.
Yeah. He's also correct.
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe he's just good at picking up vibes.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that dynamic, maybe it's just because a little bit of antagonism can go a long way for a story,
Mhm.
but I find the dynamics between those three sort of interesting.
Mhm.
You got those two at each other's throat, and Frodo's trying to be like, hey guys, can't we all just not be little bitches?
No.
I didn't actually, this section of the book, I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed this part, because one of my gripes about the films for many years is the Sam and Frodo and Gollum stuff in the films are probably some of my least favorite parts. And I think a lot of it does have to do with what you're talking about, the antagonism.
Yeah.
In the movies, that feels so oppressive. The actual just animosity that those between all three of them have.
Yeah.
And that's a big I hate that. I hate that kind of oppressive atmosphere when I'm going into something like that. In this, there's, and maybe it's because I could just pace it better, I think, is a lot of it, because there is definitely still some sniping, and yes, Sam is kind of a dick, but a lot of it feels very because you can kind of, I was talking about earlier, you have more character depth. So when you're seeing all the animosity that's happening, you 100% get it. Whereas in a film, it's just kind of assumed, and you don't really have a lot of you have the atmosphere without the justification, if that makes any sense.
I have two thoughts. One goes back to the structure, and I think part of the issue, I've heard that opinion about the movies from a lot of people, and I think that for most people, when watching The Two Towers, the Helm's Deep is the more interesting story. Mm-hmm. And I think some people get irked by being in Helm's Deep and then getting jerked back over to Sam and Frodo and then back and then. Mm-hmm. So I think it's better that we get both stories in full and separate.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then I also alluded to this earlier. Probably my biggest issue with the movie is that there is some antagonism there between the three of them, but Peter Jackson
he cranks it up.
He cranks it up to the point that Sam and Frodo break up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to me that's almost unforgivable, because what is amazing to me about this portion of the book is that through it all and through everything they have to deal with, including the differences that they have on how to treat Smeagol, they are always true to each other.
Yeah.
Penis
that was
tipped.
They dock.
Everybody's subtly horny.
Yeah.
I don't know what the male to female ratio for hobbits is.
I think it's more
normal.
Yeah.
So them not breaking up is actually my king.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hate so much, I think you and I have talked about stuff where a team or somebody breaking apart is just the most annoying and to me kind of lazy writing that you can kind of do for stuff like that.
And in the commentary, he's like, well, conflict is the essence of drama. And I'm like, yeah, but is this ring and a war to destroy the world not enough conflict?
Right.
I understand that's basic writing, but I think arguably
the great conflict from other areas.
Yeah.
Arguably, this is the greatest novel of all time, so I think it has a sufficient amount of conflict.
Yeah.
I also think that, at least for the movies, it doesn't. Part of it is that antagonism is injected into everything else also, so you're just feeling constant antagonism through the movie.
Yeah. It is kind of like, it to me, an oppressive thing.
Yeah, where in this book, it's like, this is your antagonistic section.
Yeah, like Aragorn and Theoden kind of butt heads at several points. Gandalf butts heads with like everybody.
Yeah.
And Faramir kind of
butts heads.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
There's what makes, I think, the books different is that like there's honor amongst it. Like these are just men with different opinions.
Yeah, they just move on super quick.
Yeah, but they're still like kind of honor.
It's an era of gentlemen.
Yeah, they honor each other enough to realize, yes, you have a different opinion from me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to condemn you for that opinion. Whereas, again, in the films themselves, like because of the constant antagonism, you just have a lot of, I guess, unresolved kind of situations.
It's all tension without much release.
Yeah,
and it's very. The book, like people treating each other like that in the books, is very refreshing when you live in this extremely bipartisan country that we live in, where, oh, you think this about this issue? Well, we can't be civil to each other.
Oh
anymore.
It is absolutely absurd, and I agree with you.
I've been called a Nazi more times than I can count. I've also been called every slur for Jew, so I don't know why I'm not Jewish. I guess I just look Jewish.
All right,
maybe.
Yeah, no, like I'm talking like the K slur, all kinds of stuff.
That's a hard word.
That is. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, my God, dude, I'm not Jewish. I'm Polish. We just kind of look the same.
Yeah. Okay. More thoughts on Frodo, Sam, Smeagol, or what about like Smeagol Gollum? Like,
I feel like it's a little less bipolar.
it is way less, but it's there enough to where it's interesting.
Oh yeah,
I think like the visual element
really helps in the movies.
Yeah.
I like all the interactions between all three of them, even the antagonism. I think just like how I find Gimli really funny, I find Gollum really funny. Like, you can't cook meat. You kind of ruin the flavor.
Were you guys surprised that the potatoes line was in the book?
Yeah, that was actually in there.
That was in there, yeah.
We get potatoes, but we don't get you cannot pass.
He says you cannot pass it.
It's just not as amplified.
Yeah, he doesn't say you shall not pass.
Yeah.
This is my pass, and you cannot.
Smeagol, again, in the films I have a lot more with Smeagol, but again, the book depth and character-wise helps a lot with this, because like I didn't have near as tough of a time with the Smeagol Gollum relationship, because again, in book form, that's a part of it. Like, you're kind of immersed in the separation of that, and because you're able to kind of it's able to tell you how he's experiencing this rather than you being shown it, is such a different medium, because that's so much more internal to you as the person versus seeing it on a screen and just being like, well, a little bastard.
I love that little bastard though.
Oh, I do. Like in the book, I very much enjoyed how that was.
I love him in all his forms. No, not in the Finnish one. And not in the Soviet one. I love him in all his American and British forms.
Yeah. The real countries.
I was resisting the urge to be like, you mean the ones that matter?
I'm part Finnish.
Are you?
Yeah. So the European countries that my families come from, none of them were Allied powers in World War II. They were all either neutral or Axis powers.
Poland and Germany for me.
Germany, Hungary, and Finland, all Axis powers. Ireland, neutral. I pointed that out to Emma the other day, and she was like, "Were our people bad?"
I'm just gonna skip over the joke I was gonna make, because you probably have enough on your plate. Just because we lost didn't mean we were bad.
If you ever like sit down and actually like watch The Office through, there's this running joke throughout the seasons that you gradually learn more and more about, that Dwight's ancestors were Nazis, and it's really funny.
Does he embrace it?
He embraces the German part of that. He talks about his great uncle who lives in Peru, and he's like, I was going to go down there to visit him, but the Israelis protested my visa.
It's I can't remember who it might have been Teresa, but I was explaining to her why there's so many white people in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
And
Germans.
And
it was Argentina, not Peru.
I made this like offhand reference. It's like, oh, it's like when you run into a blue-eyed guy in Argentina, and she's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, they were Nazis. That's where Hitler really went.
Yeah.
I always think every time I have there's an episode of Frasier where they go and confront the guy who they think is cheating with Niles' wife, and it's one of my favorite Nazi jokes probably in TV, is because he speaks German, they speak English, so they don't know what he's saying, and one of Niles' housemate, not housemaid, fucking maid, just a maid, whatever.
Yeah.
The maids. She is Hispanic, but she speaks German, but she doesn't speak English. So what you're having is the German has to talk to the Hispanic woman. The Hispanic woman has to talk Spanish to Frasier, who understands Spanish, and Frasier has to tell Niles what the guy is saying.
Game of telephone.
And it's literally there. And at one point, like because he asks her, he's like, Marta, you speak German? And she goes, you see. And then she tells them how she speaks German, and then Fraser looks at her and looks at him and goes, apparently she worked for a German family who escaped to Guatemala just after the war.
It's not bad.
That's funny.
It's really good.
How did we get on this?
I don't remember.
I also don't. I'm glad we're here though.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it character-wise. No, do you want to talk about Shelob?
I will when I get to my kink.
Okay, so...
I'll kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Alright, let's go to scary shit. Is this book scary?
Getting eaten by a giant spider is kind of scary.
I think, like, where they're going through Shelob's cave and like the descriptions of like all the bones and the bodies, I think it's genuinely pretty creepy.
I'm also terrified of caves.
Mm-hmm.
I see people go like cave diving where they go through like holes this big, and it freaks me out.
Mm-hmm. And also like the thought of like getting attacked by a spider and poisoned so that you just can't resist, and then being tied up and just left there to wait.
Yeah, I'll come back for you later.
I love when the orcs are talking and they talk about how they find the orc that was lost, and they found him tied up there. Can you imagine you get attacked by a spider, it stabs you and poisons you and ties you up and like leaves you hanging for days, and you're laying there waiting to get eaten, and then your bros roll up and you're like, I'm rescued, and they laugh at you and leave.
Look at this dumbass.
I mean, like, I guess it's kind of smart because they don't want to piss off Shelob.
Yeah.
But still, like, oh my god, that's so shitty for that guy. But yeah, no, I think that it has some kind of creepy parts.
He just brought up something to me that I didn't realize was a fear until now. So I have a thing with drowning. I believe I've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
You just brought up the idea of cave diving to... probably not much longer, so that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, but you brought the cave diving, and it just occurred to me that I remembered a video of a woman who's doing like cave diving, but it's underwater. Mm-hmm. So like she goes into the hole, and then like supposedly there's another end to it where there's air.
Darwin Awards.
And I'm just like, That's got to be up there for me.
No, I've seen videos of people like pearl diving and shit. That's scary.
That's
scary.
Yeah, no, like that's like 3 fears like combined all into one. I'm good.
Claustrophobia, drowning, suffocation.
Just kill me now.
Oh, that's spooky, scary.
Yeah.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Gimli got that hair.
We talked about Triosi.
Okay, so Triosi.
We talked about Triosi. We talked about Sam and Frodo docking.
Galadriel simping.
Sniffing the hair.
How did you guys love as much as I did? How pissed off Gimli gets at Éomer for disrespecting.
Disrespecting Galadriel. Yeah.
I'm telling I like the funny characters. Gimli's fucking funny.
He's subtly funny.
Yeah,
too.
he's
like it's not apparent until you're like actually looking
he's the
for
dude
it.
who's like funny on accident.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, you guys asked me like in the first book, is there any humor? And I'm like, it's Gimli, and you'll see it. Just wait.
I find Gollum funny. So.
Oh, you know what I thought was really funny? That this is my 3rd time reading this book, and I completely forgot it was in there. The black squirrel.
Yeah.
There's a black squirrel. Maybe it came down from Mirkwood. I just thought it was really funny.
That was in a book written by a man from a European country. That might have been the most British joke in the book. Was the black squirrel. Really like that whole scene is so dry. It just kills me.
It almost felt like a Monty Python sketch.
It really did. It really did because they just kept going on about it, and you just think it's going to stop, and it doesn't.
No.
I've only ever seen one Monty Python movie.
You would really like Life of Brian.
That's what Ben keeps telling me.
You would love Life of Brian.
Yeah, the absurdity in it is like 11.
You would probably also like The Meaning of Life, but if you could only watch one, I would watch The Life of Brian. Yeah.
If you're going to watch any scene in The Meaning of Life, and I think it's in The Meaning of Life, just watch I can't remember, like the sexual, like the
semen one?
The semen scene where he's showing how to have sex.
Yeah.
Just that scene by itself.
The classroam one?
Yeah. It's so funny.
I can do that.
It's so debaucherous.
Yeah, both of those movies are great. I'm not a big fan of Flying Circus, but
I also am not that's.
But I do like all the movies. There are more good ones than just the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings of Koontz. Daniel, what is your king?
Shelob.
Was she your king before I showed you the picture of her from Shadow?
Because I'm reading it, and I'm like,
and she's your queen, right?
This is just like the Pennywise prototype, and basically a H.P. Lovecraft, just the way it's written, is I've lived down in this cave since time immemorial. My blood is shadows, and I feast on the flesh. I just was like, I mean, this thing's fucking, but then it just still gets killed by getting stuck with a stick.
We don't know if she
died, but
Shelob's mother, Ungoliant, literally stole the light from the world.
So I like that I got like basically a Lovecraft monster in a.
There's some book. I think the Balrog is kind of Lovecraftian.
I also liked the Balrog. I love whenever you dig too deep and you find unholy terrors we weren't meant to know. I love that shit. So.
Yeah. You read the book.
And I'm also partial to horror, so this being the closest adjacent we get to that in this book.
There are horror elements in Tolkien.
Yeah, the Balrog again. I really like that scene. I really like this scene.
Yeah.
But what helps the Shelob scene is I also get Sam, Frodo, and Gollum. So I get all of the things I liked from that, plus spooky giant spider.
Yeah,
that's
It's that scene is, you could say like stuff that happens in Return of the King is the culmination of the three of theirs relationship, but like this is the point where like it changes and there's no longer any question about Gollum and his motives. Yeah, I adore it. Like,
yeah,
stinker and slinker. What's your king?
My king is that they didn't part ways.
Mm-hmm.
That's also really good.
That was so huge for me.
Yeah,
because I was dreading that the entire time, and then it just doesn't happen. I'm like, it was like a bonus treat I got at the end of my book.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my
they
god,
just get
yay.
to be friends.
Like, this is cool now. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I love this.
My king is just the last chapter, really kind of the last two chapters.
Mm-hmm.
But the choices of Samwise, I mean, him like fighting Shelob, and then like the heartbreaking him having to choose to leave Frodo and take the ring and take Sting and go on without him.
That was the other thing that like I was like in the book I was like, oh my, whoa, because that's a stark difference from a lot of that.
It's a difference I appreciate too.
Like,
yeah,
it kind of happens in the movie, but it's just like so rushed,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that you don't really get to like revel in that moment.
You're actually like because that's what you're sitting with for the rest of it. You're like, actually, like, you know, there's going to be more of him with the ring than you think. And I'm just like, oh, our boy's being tested. Holy shit.
I almost wish that, like, in a perfect world, we could, like, I think there were, like, 3 or 4 months between, because they were, when they were published, I almost kind of want to, like, make us wait 3 months to read Return of the King, to just live in that. It's just like, oh.
Make it palpable.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite book endings of all time. I think it's really good. I almost wish you didn't find out that Frodo was still alive until the beginning of the next book, but I also think I wouldn't change it. I think it's...
You wanted them to bore me, right?
Yeah. It's really great. All right, Koontz.
The singing. I still don't like the singing.
You're a dick. There's a lot less singing in this.
There's a lot less singing.
There is less.
And so far, there's even less in the third book.
Yeah, I think that pattern continues.
Yeah.
I'll give you the nth singing, because I'm sitting there being like, okay, I get they're slow, but come on, dude.
Audible should have a setting where if ints are speaking, it automatically kicks it up to 2 times.
Right?
Come on, AI people.
Saruman is my Koontz, just because he's just way more of a bitch.
Not Christopher Lee.
He's not Christopher Lee. I can't.
You are either, at the end of Return of the King, you are either going to hate Saruman more or you're going to love Saruman more, and I don't know which, but we'll see.
I'm eager to hear this, because
we'll find out.
That sounds as different as this book was. Like, it's the same, but it's still different from what I knew of a lot of things. I'm interested to see where Return of the King is going to take me, because there were a lot of things that happened in this book that I did not even have a remote anticipation was going to go the way it did.
Oh, do you guys have like an opinion on the elves at Helm's Deep now, or no?
About the fact that they were just kind of gone.
Well, they're not in the book at all,
right?
Like, that was something that Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Like they weren't in there. Period. Yeah.
I mean, do you have an opinion on him adding that in the movie now?
Oh.
Not really. That's one of the changes that's I'm more like, all right, you know.
I also like it.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't like tickle my fancy, especially, but it's not something that I find distracting or hate.
It feels really good to me because like the whole the Silmarillion is all about like the wars of the jewels and the elves and men teaming up to fight Morgoth, and like when the elves get there, that's like it used to be that men and elves fought and died together, and we're here to honor that legacy. It's a really powerful line.
I also feel like that makes sense for the films to do that, because it is kind of more bravado than in a sense. So like that makes sense in the movie to do that. But in the book, like, it's not, it being absent also I don't feel like takes away from anything. It's still, you're in a dire situation, elves are not. So
I think it's something we'll talk about in Return of the King, but there are like specific reasons why the elves did not send any aid to Rohan or Gondor for that matter, and that's better explained in Return of the King, and we'll talk about it on the next one.
Okay. So what was your Koontz, Ryan?
I do prefer the books to the movies, but I still love the movies. I'm a big fan of both.
Yeah. Just a different experience.
Yeah. Something that I think is just absolutely missing from this book, and it's in the movie. It's in a deleted scene. It's in the extended cut, but it feels so awkward that Tolkien didn't address it. Is that Theoden's son dies, and there's like no addressing of that. There's no mourning by Theoden at all.
Yeah, it just kind of.
And in the movie, he has that beautiful scene where they bury him, and Éowyn sings her song, and then he's standing there at his grave, and he's crying, and Aragorn comes to him, or is it Gandalf? One of them comes to him, and he has that, no parent should ever have to bury their son, their child.
Oh, yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it's just like, there's like zero acknowledgement of it at all in the book. Like, in the movie, like right after he wakes up, one of the first things he said is, "Where's my son? Where's Theodred?" Because that's what you would say. So it just feels awkward. That
makes sense.
Yeah,
that's a good Koontz.
Okay. Blah, rankings. Let me pull that up. I am going to continue what I started on the last one, and I am deferring until our Return of the King episode, and I will rank all of these after I've finished rereading. So I'm just, for the time being, tying it at first place with The Hobbit and The Fellowship.
That's what everybody's waiting for, is the final verdict.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Like, everybody's just on pins and needles.
Edge of their seats.
All right, Hef, here is your list. Just as a quick reminder, you had The Fellowship of the Ring in 6th place and The Hobbit at 7th place.
So it actually, it's going to take the place of The Fellowship. It's going to go at number 6 now.
Okay.
I liked this a lot more...
Below Dracula.
Yes. I liked this a lot more than I thought I would going in, because, again, the second movie, like, I really enjoyed it, because, like, in terms of, like, the actual films, to me, it has the highest highs.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, the actual movies. Like, I think I still enjoyed the Fellowship movie more, but, like, the peaks in the Two Towers are, like, peak. Yeah. So, but in terms of the books, I did, like, while I enjoyed, like, all the lore and extra stuff we got in the Fellowship, I found that the differences that the Two Towers gave me versus what I got in the films, I appreciated a lot more.
There are more changes were made to Two Towers and Return of the King than Fellowship. The one that's the truest adaptation is Fellowship.
Yes.
And there are some big differences in Return of the King.
The Fellowship felt more like DLC, like you just kind of bonus stuff that you got, like them being in the Shire the whole time, like just felt like kind of extra fun stuff that you got, whereas this is like not only is the tone different, but there's just things that completely diverge, which I found refreshing, because you know you don't really want to go into something being like, oh, I already know what happens, and I appreciate that.
Okay, Daniel, you had, as a reminder, you had The Hobbit at number 11 and The Fellowship of the Ring at number 12.
It's my new number 11. I still can't justify putting it above Frankenstein because that just has way too much that works for me.
Okay, so it's your number 11 below Frankenstein and above The Hobbit.
Yeah.
But you liked this one more than The Hobbit, but you didn't like The Fellowship more than The Hobbit.
Yeah. It had a couple of things that got closer to tickling my fancy. You got like the martyr stuff. You got Shelob.
This one is a little bit more fast-paced, and there's less exposition.
Yeah.
More not necessarily action, but things are happening, and the characters are describing them as they're happening.
Yeah. As
opposed to.
Yeah.
What you were explaining in the first book, where it's like, oh. There's Gandalf. Gandalf, what have you been? Oh, I was.
I had an entire adventure.
Where have you been for the last 7 years?
Yeah.
17.
17. Oh, man, that's worse.
Okay, homework. I had a homework. I didn't give it to you guys ahead of time, but whatever.
Oh, good.
What do you guys think would have happened differently if anything happened differently if Faramir had gone to Rivendell and presumably joined the Fellowship instead of Boromir.
Take a swig.
I think we would have a slightly less interesting book because the adventure would be a lot more straightforward because there wouldn't be that initial conflict of trying to convince Frodo to do the thing.
Mhm.
It'd just be like, yeah, we should probably get rid of this thing. And then they would just do what they could to empower Frodo to go do that without him feeling like he has to run away and hide from it. And
Do you think the Fellowship would have broken?
yeah, but it would be, we have to break this so that he can go this way.
Mhm.
It'd be more like, we need to lead the orcs in this direction. Faramir probably wouldn't have died because he wouldn't have scared off Frodo. And then, you don't split your party in D&D because it ends with people dying. So Frodo still probably would have realized, I have to go on my own. Because if he didn't realize it on his own, someone would probably point out, yeah, that thing corrupts people. So it's probably best if you're in as small of a group as possible.
Do you think anybody aside from Sam would have gone with him?
I think it probably would have been the hobbits as a group. If I was theorizing, just who's Frodo most comfortable with, it'd either be him and just Sam or be him and the hobbitses.
It doesn't seem to have a much corrupting influence over Legolas or Gimli, but
yeah. But I think that they would just go with, we need to travel in a much smaller group to attract less attention.
yeah. I wouldn't have brought Pippin to Mordor, but
I mean, you gotta have some fun.
yeah. Okay. F.
There'd be no talk of Triosi though, so it'd be a lesser book.
Triosi.
I think Tolkien would have written himself into a corner where he gets to the Council of Elrond, and Faramir's like, "That don't affect me. Bye." And he sends the hobbits home, and he's just like, "I got this now." And then he and like the squad, just a bunch of, it's like Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and Faramir taking the ring to Mordor. And then like nothing super interesting happens with the hobbits after that.
Yeah.
I think something similar to what Daniel said, but because Merry and Pippin go to Mordor, Saruman is never defeated, and Isengard is never defeated, and that flank is not taken care of, and that eventually leads to the downfall of all of the free peoples of Middle-earth.
He likes the dark ending.
Yeah. People were surprised when I played Slay the Princess, and I immediately killed the princess.
He has Darth in his name. Why are people surprised?
Stabbed her right between her boobs.
I believe my first comment was stab her again.
There are much more interesting books out there. Remind me to lend you some Danielle Steele.
So what have you guys been reading outside of the podcast, since we have a little bit more free time for our reading now?
The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, because that's also something that we're doing on the podcast.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get through that because I can't even remember what order we're doing the books in, but I know once we get to Spiral, it's a little bit longer, and I also have a physical copy of that, so that's going to take me a minute. And other than that, I haven't been reading because I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on hard mode, and that is occupying all of my time.
Woof. Woof.
It is harder than any of the Souls games I have ever played.
Sounds hard.
Yeah. I walked into a random battle on the first stage, and got one-shotted by the enemies there. And I was like,
as you do.
Oops.
I did finish Mr. Mercedes. It's one I will not bring to the podcast because I enjoyed it. I 100% could see people not enjoying it. I think it's fine, look like from a clinical view, and it's one of those books of like I can see why I like it versus why other people wouldn't. The other book, and apparently I typically dipped into controversy when I read it, and I read a book called Go Set a Watchman. And for those who don't know, it is the prequel/sequel, unofficially, of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Unofficially?
So it's a weird situation that happens. So apparently the book To Kill a Mockingbird was written, obviously, way back. This book...
Oh, this... Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I'm aware of this book.
Do I know?
I'm aware of this book.
Okay, yeah, because they released it... It's been only, like, fairly recently, like 15 years ago.
Yeah, this is Harper Lee's second novel that they found after she died and they published.
Yeah, but it wasn't the second novel. Technically, I believe the way it was set up was that was the original draft for To Kill a Mockingbird that they happened to find years later when she was kind of getting older, and her publisher basically... The controversy comes up that it can be interpreted that the publisher basically stole it to push it out there to get, like, people to buy it as, like, one last big thing of hers because they knew it would sell, which they were correct. It was, like, I think it set a record for, like, the most bought book on day one release.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's on my to read list. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's also very controversial because of the stances it takes. If you're going to read the book, I won't tell you anything about it.
I will eventually, yeah.
I will tell you that if you read To Kill a Mockingbird, you will have strong feelings about this one.
I have read To Kill a Mockingbird, and I enjoy the book quite a bit.
So, I read this book, and again, in classic Hef fashion. I read the book without knowing the origin of it being from the sequel to Kill a Mockingbird, the unofficial sequel. Like, Atticus Finch, in my uneducated Hef brain, did not know that's who that was in To Kill a Mockingbird, and he is in this book.
He's like one of the most iconic literary characters of all time.
And I had zero concept of that's who this was.
Have you read To Kill a Mockingbird?
No, I haven't.
Go sit and watch me.
It's on?
You should read To Kill a Mockingbird.
It's there. That's my upcoming one, because like I finished that like a week and a half ago.
Okay.
And as soon as I finished it and like read all the dumb shit about the controversy of it, I'm like, well, now I gotta fucking read this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, let me know when and if you get to that. I'm super interested to talk about your thoughts on it.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
So I will have likewise in kind with the Mockingbird.
That's funny.
Classic Hef.
I've been getting caught up on Star Wars. I've been kind of behind on Star Wars books and comics for a little bit, and I'm caught up with the High Republic. I'm not caught up on the non-High Republic stuff. Currently reading the Mace Windu novel that had come out recently, and it's okay. It's no Shatterpoint. Matthew Stover was an amazing author. If you want to read a Mace Windu novel, read Star Wars Shatterpoint. It is the same author who wrote the Revenge of the Sith novelization, and it changed my opinion on Mace Windu 100%. I also just rewatched the Clone Wars episodes where Mace Windu and Jar Jar Binks had a team up, and those are so funny.
There's just
Misa Mace Windu.
Master and Mace.
More like Mace Windu don't.
They have to rescue Jar Jar's girlfriend, who's a queen, and it shows them kissing. And
this is a tasty wombat.
They go on this mission to rescue this queen who's Jar Jar's girlfriend, and they go to her palace, and like these people that she's a part of, they're also a Force cult, and they hate the Jedi, and they did not want any Jedi to come, and to get Mace Windu through, Jar Jar says that that Mace is his servant. I'm like, and of course they chose the Black Jedi. And then, like, Jar Jar and the Queen go off to her quarters, and then it, like, time skips, and Mace is there in the hallway, and it's, like, been hours. And he's like, I want to know what they are doing. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Is she at least fine?
No, she looks like a duck.
Oh.
Hold on.
Clone Wars.
Misa is getting some.
Queen
I've seen what his
Julia.
tongue do, so.
I mean, how could he not?
Oh yeah, no, I can work with that.
That's not the most offensive thing I've
Yeah, I
seen
can
to
fuck
come
that.
out of the Gungan race.
She's not a Gungan.
Yeah, I know he's in.
Oh,
the
she's
species.
not.
She is not a Gungan. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's
But
good.
they are similar.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I can work with this, man.
They're like duck. They're like duck people.
Like what that throat do?
Okay.
Except
Master and Mace. He's a Misa servant. He's a loyal servant. Isn't that right, Master and Mace? And the funniest part about it is just like this quiet, intense, burning anger that you just get from Mace Windu the whole time. He's like, yes, I am your servant. It's really great.
That sounds like fan fiction.
It is like, well, that was the cool thing about the Clone Wars. It was like, it was so long that they could do like these random like team ups. Like, you know how like Marvel just does, okay, so let's do Wasp and Wolverine and it's a team up. The Clone Wars did stuff like that. It was super fun. Upcoming on the Horror of Babylon, so our next book is obviously going to be The Return of the King, which we had said we were going to do an episode on the movie Helen Keller versus the Nightwolves. We will do that. We will do that. But we're keeping you 3 books surprised at all times. So our next book will be Return of the King, and then the book after that will be The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. We need to. All right, hold on.
I'll go through some of my books this weekend and see if I can narrow it down.
Okay, I'll bring this back up when we're done and we'll talk about it more. All right, and then all we have left to do is to thank the other members of our fellowship, our patrons. Thank you to Logan,
the Full Metal
patron, and Sierra, the Keyblade patron. And thank you to Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you make it into the store, say hello to Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas. And we are doing a giveaway. They gave us a Chucky, like a Child's Play, not Chucky Finster, not Rugrats, but Child's Play Secret Lair.
It's probably on the docket. Let's be fair.
I mean, with the way they're rolling them out, yeah.
Oh man.
But all you have to do is comment on this video or any of our videos or any of our social media posts in the next month, and you'll get entered in the drawing. And Patreons get a free entry anyway, and they can have 2. So thank you to Four Horsemen, and definitely make sure to stop in and check them out. And I do mean sexually. All right. Well, guys, thank you. Thank you for reading The Two Towers with me and recording tonight.
You're very welcome.
Yes, it was a blast.
And I will see you next month for The Return of the King and hopefully Helen Keller. We'll see. We'll talk about it. All right. Thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
Stay scary, folks.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.